But I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid, man.
Christopher McNabb, a man from Georgia, was at the center of a deeply tragic and shocking event. In 2017, he became known for a terrible incident involving his own baby daughter, Kalia. One morning, little Kalia was found missing from her crib. The whole community joined in a frantic search, hoping to find her safe and sound. It was a heart-wrenching time for everyone involved. In the midst of this search, McNabb's plea echoed through the air.
But I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid.
Sadly, the search came to a devastating end when Kalia's lifeless body was discovered in the woods nearby. This news sent shockwaves through the town. The authorities were determined to find out what had happened. Christopher McNabb and his girlfriend, Courtney Bell, who was Kalia's mother, were under intense scrutiny. As the investigation unfolded, it pointed towards a tragic truth. It was revealed that Kalia had lost her life due to extreme violence. Looking at the evidence, McNabb was taken into custody and faced serious charges related to his daughter's death. After McNabb was pronounced guilty, the focus shifted to the investigation phase. During this critical stage, he staunchly maintained his innocence, asserting that he was not responsible for the tragic events that unfolded.
I'm innocent. I didn't do it.
Okay.
I've maintained that the whole time. I feel like there was things that were allowed to be said that should have never been allowed to be said that didn't have nothing whatsoever to do with the case.
Christopher McNabb, after being found guilty, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of his daughter. This means he will spend the rest of his life behind bars, without any chance for release. This is Leonid Grazer, who's currently on trial in Moscow, Russia, for the murder of his sister, Aradia Koral. Grazer claims he was instructed by Satan to commit this act, and he ended up stabbing his sister multiple times. Now, he sits in the Sherbinsky courtroom, enclosed within a glass cage. He attempts various tricks to escape, at times appearing calm. However, a surprising turn awaits. In an astonishing feat, Grazer somehow manages to slip through the slats at the top of the bulletproof cage, outsmarting the security guards. A female officer rushes to call for backup by pressing a large button on the wall. During his escape, Grazer's pants start to come off, but the officer grips his leg firmly. Shortly after, another officer arrives, wielding a taser. Grazer realizes it's time to abandon his escape plan.
Сейчас, я тебя там выпущу. Да. Спустись, блядь. Ко мне, блядь.
Все.
Сука, я тебе дам сказать.
He descends back into the cage.
Ты чё, дурак же, открывайте, зайдите в клетку, блядь. Башка, давай быстро, слазь. Борис, ну одевайся. Сейчас одевайся.
After putting his paints back on, Grazer chooses to make a full confession for the murder, asserting that he harbors no regrets for his actions. Michael Madison, a convicted serial killer, gained notoriety for his heinous crimes in East Cleveland, Ohio. Between 2012 and 2013, he brutally murdered 3 young women, Sherelle Terry, Angela Deskins, and Shatisha Shealy. Their bodies were found in various locations near Madison's apartment. The case shocked the community and led to a widespread manhunt for the perpetrator. In 2013, Madison was apprehended and subsequently charged with multiple counts of aggravated murder. During the trial, as the father of the victim stood before the judge, positioned near the convict, his gaze was fixed directly on the perpetrator. In a sudden surge of emotion, he lunged towards him. Following this dramatic moment, Michael Madison was ultimately sentenced to death. This is Joshua Harding, who has been charged with 2 counts of sexual assault and is currently facing trial in the Veterans Memorial Courthouse in Michigan. In the footage, Harding is seen standing, flanked by 2 prosecutors, including Jonathan Roth, who urged the court to consider a sentence on the higher end of the guidelines, along with Brian Keenan, a lead investigator in the case against Harding. The jury has now reached a decision, and they're about to deliver the verdict. In the upcoming moments, a surge of tension grips the room. If you observe closely, Harding deftly retrieves an object from inside his sleeve, later revealed to be a metal shank, and makes a direct advance toward assistant, D.A. Roth. Instantly, 2 court deputies spring into action, swiftly subduing Harding. It took approximately 2 minutes to handcuff and remove the defendant from the courtroom. This savage attack led to an additional charge of attempted murder, to which Harding pleaded guilty. Regarding the original charges, he was ultimately found guilty of second-degree criminal sexual conduct. As a result, he is now serving a combined sentence of 44 years in a state prison. Tracy Hunter, who served as a judge in the Hamilton County Juvenile Court at the time, faced a grand jury indictment on numerous felony charges. The allegations included instances where Hunter manipulated dates on documents to hinder prosecutors from contesting her rulings. Additionally, she was accused of misusing her authority as a judge by providing sensitive documents to her brother, who worked in the juvenile court system and was undergoing termination proceedings. The case dragged on for years, exhausting the appeals process, and finally ended with Hunter dramatically being taken into custody in 2019.
Number 1, you pay the cost of these proceedings. Number 2, you are to do not violate any laws. And number 3, you are to do 6 months in the Hamilton County Justice Center. Credit 1 day. Mr. or Ms. Deputy can take her away.
Despite her physical objections, in dramatic fashion, former juvenile court judge passively resisted deputies who took her into custody. As she resisted her arrest, her body went completely limp, making it more difficult for the officers to detain her, and was eventually dragged out of the courtroom by a female deputy to serve her 6-month jail sentence. However, she was released early, serving just 3 months because of her participation in a court-authorized work detail.